The first thing I noticed about the building was how quiet it was. Not peaceful quiet. Not the comforting kind you get in a library or a sleeping neighborhood. This was the kind of quiet that feels imposed, enforced, like sound itself had been politely but firmly asked to leave. The hallway lights buzzed faintly overhead, long fluorescent tubes set into yellowing ceiling panels. They flickered just slightly, not enough to be broken, just enough to remind you they were there, watching, judging. Apartment 4B was at the very end of the corridor. There were 7 other doors on the way down. Every single one had a number plate. Every single one looked undisturbed. No welcome mats, no shoes outside, no plants, no scratches near the handles, no life. By the time I reached 4B, my footsteps sounded too loud. The echo followed me half a second too long, as if the hallway were repeating what I did just to make sure I heard it. That's when I saw the envelope. It was taped dead center on the door. White, uncreased, my name written in black ink so dark it almost looked wet. Daniel Mercer. I stood there longer than I'd like to admit, staring at my own name. I had signed the lease barely an hour ago. The landlord, Mr. Hallberg, had been strange in a way that didn't register fully until later. His handshake was limp, but his grip lingered too long. His eyes kept drifting over my shoulder like he was expecting someone to stand behind me, or something. Most tenants don't last more than a year, he'd said casually while sliding the keys across the desk. I'd laughed. He hadn't. Be sure to read the rules. Rules. Plural. At the time, I assumed he meant building regulations, noise levels, garbage day, parking instructions. I didn't expect this. I peeled the envelope off the door slowly. The tape came away clean, as if it had been placed moments ago. I glanced down the hallway. Still empty, still watching. I unlocked the door. The deadbolt turned too smoothly. The handle felt warm. Inside, the apartment smelled like fresh paint layered over something older. Damp concrete, old wood, a faint metallic undertone I couldn't quite identify. The living room was modest. Beige walls, gray carpet, a single window facing another brick building. No balcony, no obvious floors. But something about the layout felt slightly off. The angles seemed a degree sharper than they should have been. The corners too dark despite the overhead light being on. The far left corner of the living room felt deeper than the others. I don't mean visually, I mean spatially, like it continued a fraction farther back than the wall allowed. I stepped fully inside and closed the door behind me. The sound echoed. Too long. I locked it. Then I opened the envelope. Inside was a single sheet of paper. No letterhead, no signature, just text. Typed, perfectly aligned. At the top, bolded, "Welcome to apartment 4B." Beneath it was a numbered list. I remember smiling at first. It felt like one of those quirky house manuals you see in Airbnb rentals. A little personality. That smile faded before I reached the end. The rules. 1. Do not leave the bathroom mirror uncovered between 3:13 a.m. and 3:33 a.m. 2. If you hear knocking from inside the walls, ignore it. 3. Never open the bedroom closet fully. A crack is fine. Fully is not. 4. If the lights flicker 3 times in a row, close your eyes until you hear them stabilize. 5. Do not acknowledge anyone calling your name from the hallway after midnight. 6. If you wake up and the apartment feels larger than before, go back to sleep immediately. 7. If you see the man standing in the corner of your living room, do not look directly at him. He is not there. I read them once, then again, then a third time slower. Rule number 7 didn't make sense. If you see the man, see implies presence. ... Do not look directly at him. Looking is seeing. He is not there. Then how could I see him? The phrasing was deliberate, clinical. It wasn't written like a joke. There were no exclamation marks, no winks, no more. Each rule was structured identically. Clean, direct, final. I felt something settle into my stomach like cold water. I looked up from the paper. The living room was quiet. Empty. The far left corner, the deeper one, sat in shadow. There was nothing there. No man, no shape, just a slight darkening where the light didn't quite reach. I took a step toward it. The carpet felt softer near that corner. My breathing sounded louder. Relax, I muttered to myself. Old tenant prank. Maybe Hallberg thought it was funny. Maybe this building had some weird tradition. I walked closer, 3 steps away now. The corner didn't change, didn't shift, didn't breathe. I let out a laugh I didn't mean to make. Then the overhead light flickered once, just once. I froze. It didn't flicker again. Silence returned. I swallowed and backed away. I folded the paper carefully and slid it into my jacket pocket. I told myself I'd ask Hallberg about it tomorrow. I unpacked until nearly midnight. It helped keep my mind busy. By 11:57 p.m., I had my bed assembled and a lamp plugged in. At exactly 12:04 a.m., someone whispered my name from the hallway. Daniel. The sound was soft, gentle, right outside my door. My heart punched hard against my ribs. I stared at the door. There was no knock, no shadow under the crack, just the whisper. Rule number 5. Do not acknowledge anyone calling your name from the hallway after midnight. I didn't respond. The whisper came again. Closer, more insistent. Daniel, let me in. My throat tightened. The voice sounded almost like mine, not perfectly, but close enough to make my stomach twist. I stayed silent. 30 seconds passed. Then the whisper stretched into something else, a faint dragging sound, like fingers sliding slowly down the other side of the door, from top to bottom, then nothing. The hallway returned to its suffocating quiet. I didn't open the door. I didn't check the peephole. I sat on the edge of my bed until 2:47 a.m. At 3:13 a.m. exactly, the bathroom light turned on by itself, and from the living room corner something shifted. The bathroom light didn't just turn on, it snapped on, violently, like something inside the wiring had been waiting for permission. The fluorescent hum filled the apartment in an instant, that sharp electrical buzz that burrows into your skull and settles behind your eyes. 3:13 a.m. Exactly. I didn't move at first, because something else had happened. From the living room corner, the deeper one, I heard fabric shift. A subtle sound, like someone adjusting their stance. I turned my head slowly. The corner looked the same. Shadowed, still, empty. Rule number 7 echoed in my mind. If you see the man standing in the corner of your living room, do not look directly at him. He is not there. I hadn't seen anyone. So that meant it meant nothing. It meant I was alone. It meant the apartment wiring was faulty. It meant exhaustion was catching up to me. The bathroom light buzzed louder. I forced myself to stand. Each step toward the bathroom felt heavier than it should have. The air seemed denser near the hallway, like walking through a room filled with invisible smoke. The bathroom door was open. The mirror above the sink reflected the hallway behind me. Empty, normal, completely uncovered. Rule number 1. Do not leave the bathroom mirror uncovered between 3:13 a.m. and 3:33 a.m. Uncovered. That implied it should be covered. With what? A towel? A sheet? My heart started pounding harder. I grabbed the nearest thing, a bath towel still folded in my moving box, and stepped toward the sink. The fluorescent light flickered once. I froze. Twice. My breathing quickened. 3 times. Rule number 4. If the lights flicker 3 times in a row, close your eyes until you hear them stabilize. I dropped the towel and squeezed my eyes shut instantly. Darkness, but not silence. The hum continued, but underneath it, something else layered in. A second rhythm, breathing, not mine. Slow, measured, directly in front of me. I kept my eyes shut, every muscle locked. The breathing grew closer. The air temperature dropped. The metallic scent returned, thicker now, like rusted pipes and old pennies. Something shifted near my face. I felt movement, not touch, just displacement, like someone leaning in close enough to share oxygen. I focused on the hum, waiting, waiting for it to stabilize. The flicker continued for what felt like an eternity. Then it stopped. The hum steadied. The breathing didn't. It lingered, right in front of me. I didn't open my eyes. The rules hadn't said I could yet. They said to close them until the light stabilized. They hadn't said anything about the breathing. Seconds dragged. The breathing grew faint. Then it inhaled sharply, right against my ear. I flinched, and that was my mistake, because in that tiny reflex my eyelids twitched open, just a sliver, and I saw the mirror, only it wasn't reflecting me. The bathroom behind me was there, the doorway, the hallway, but where I should have been there was someone else, standing where I stood, facing the mirror, facing me. His posture matched mine. His shoulders hunched slightly forward, but his head was tilted too far to the side, at an angle human necks don't allow. His face was pale, featureless, like skin stretched tight over nothing. No eyes, no mouth, no nose, just smooth, pale flesh. And slowly it was turning, not toward the mirror, toward me. I snapped my eyes shut again. My chest felt like it was collapsing inward. The breathing stopped. The fluorescent hum steadied fully, complete silence. I didn't move for at least a minute, maybe more. When I finally opened my eyes again, the mirror reflected me. Normal, but sweating, alone. The towel was still on the floor. My reflection blinked when I blinked, moved when I moved. Everything aligned, except the mirror was now covered. A towel hung neatly over it, smoothed flat, centered perfectly. I hadn't put it there. My hands were empty. I stepped back slowly. The bathroom felt smaller now, cramped, like the walls had leaned inward a few inches. I checked the time. 3:28 a.m. 5 minutes left. I backed out of the bathroom and stood in the hallway, staring at the covered mirror from a distance. The apartment felt different, subtly, like something had adjusted its posture. Then I heard it, from the living room. A soft shift of weight, cloth brushing carpet. My pulse spiked. Rule number 7. I turned slowly toward the living room, and that's when I saw him, standing in the corner, exactly where the shadow deepened. Tall, too tall, his head nearly brushing the ceiling, his body unnaturally thin. His arms hung straight at his sides, fingers long and slightly curled. He was facing the wall, not me, just standing there, as if he had always been part of the apartment structure, as if he belonged. My eyes locked on him instantly, and I realized something horrifying. I hadn't looked directly at him, not really, because the moment my vision tried to focus, he blurred, like my eyes refused to acknowledge detail. Like looking directly at him wasn't possible. My gaze kept sliding off, as if he were slightly out of alignment with reality. He is not there, the rule repeated in my mind. But he was. He had to be, because the carpet beneath him was sinking slightly, like it was bearing weight. I forced myself to look away, my breathing ragged, my heart pounding so hard I thought I'd black out. The second I broke eye contact, the corner was empty. Nothing there. No indentation in the carpet. No shadow beyond normal. Just a corner. Just walls. Just paint. I stood frozen for a long time, too afraid to check again. Too afraid not to. At 3:33 a.m. the bathroom light shut off by itself. The apartment exhaled. And from somewhere inside the walls, something knocked. 3 slow, deliberate taps. I didn't sleep after that. How could I? Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the faceless thing in the mirror turning its head toward me. Every time I blinked, I pictured the tall man in the corner standing there patiently, as if waiting for me to forget he existed. By 6:42 a.m., gray light seeped through the living room window. Morning didn't make the apartment feel safer. It just made it look ordinary. And that was worse, because ordinary meant I had to question myself. The corner was just a corner. The mirror was just a mirror. The knocking, old pipes, the whisper, imagination. That's what I told myself as I made coffee with shaking hands. The apartment looked small again in daylight, manageable, even cozy. The shadow in the corner didn't seem deeper anymore, but something else felt wrong. The distance from my bedroom to the kitchen felt longer, not dramatically, not enough to measure, but enough to notice. I paused halfway down the hallway. Had it always taken this many steps? I walked back, counted carefully. 14 steps from bedroom door to bathroom, 6 more to the kitchen, 20 total. I walked it again. 14, 20. Normal. You're spiraling, I told myself. I showered quickly, avoiding the mirror entirely. The towel still hung perfectly over it. I didn't touch it. At 9:15 a.m., I decided to test something. I walked into the bedroom, stared at the closet. Rule number 3, never open the bedroom closet fully. A crack is fine, fully is not. It was such a strangely specific instruction. Fully is not, like something needed the dark. I approached it slowly. The closet door was standard, white, 2 sliding panels. I slid one open a few inches. Inside were empty hangers and a top shelf, nothing else. I slid it open a little more. Still nothing. The darkness inside didn't look abnormal, just shadow. I felt stupid, paranoid. I slid the door back until it was almost closed again. Left it cracked about 2 inches, exactly what the rule allowed. I stepped away, and something inside shifted, soft, like cloth dragging across wood. I froze. The crack remained 2 inches wide, darkness inside, no movement. But the air near the closet felt colder, denser. I forced myself not to close it fully, not to test it. I backed out of the room. The rest of the day passed in tense quiet. No whispers, no flickering lights, no knocking. By evening, I almost convinced myself the worst had passed. I ordered takeout, watched TV, kept every light on. At 11:58 p.m., I locked the door again just to be sure. I checked the peephole. The hallway was empty. Midnight came and went. No whisper this time. I allowed myself to relax slightly. Around 1:30 a.m., exhaustion won. I fell asleep on the couch, and I dreamed. In the dream, I woke up. Everything looked the same, but the ceiling felt higher. The hallway stretched farther. The living room corner seemed deeper. The apartment felt expanded, like it had inhaled and forgotten to exhale. I walked toward the bedroom. It took longer to reach, much longer. The hallway seemed to stretch as I moved, like those dreams where running gets you nowhere. Then I saw something new, a second door, halfway down the hallway. It hadn't been there before. It was slightly ajar, pitch black inside. I knew somehow that it hadn't existed before, and I knew I shouldn't open it, but I stepped closer anyway. As I reached for the handle, I heard a whisper behind me, not from the hallway, not from the walls, from the living room corner. "Look at me." I turned. The tall man stood there, but this time he was facing me. His face wasn't faceless anymore. It had features, eyes, too many, stacked vertically down his face like buttons, blinking out of sync. His mouth stretched wide, far too wide, teeth small and numerous. He raised one long finger and pointed directly at me. "You looked," he said softly. I woke up gasping. On the couch, heart racing, sweat soaking my shirt. The TV was off. All the lights were off. The apartment was dark. My phone screen lit up. 3:12 a.m., 1 minute before 3:13 a.m., and that's when I realized something. The hallway was longer, not in a dream, not distorted by sleep, actually longer. The distance from the couch to the bedroom door had increased, subtly, but undeniably. The ceiling seemed slightly higher, the walls slightly farther apart. Rule number 6. If you wake up and the apartment feels larger than before, go back to sleep immediately. I stood up slowly, measured the distance with my eyes. It was bigger. It had expanded. The living room corner looked deeper than ever, like it could fit 2 men now. My breathing quickened. Go back to sleep. Immediately. My instinct screamed at me to investigate, to check the hallway, to measure, to confirm. But the rule was clear. I forced myself back onto the couch, closed my eyes. Even as I felt the apartment stretching, even as I heard soft footsteps in the expanded space, even as I sensed something moving freely in the new dimensions it had created, I kept my eyes shut. And somewhere in the distance I heard the closet door slide fully open. I didn't open my eyes. Not when the closet door finished sliding open. Not when I heard something step out of it. And not when the air pressure in the apartment shifted like a sealed room finally letting something in. Rule number 6. If you wake up and the apartment feels larger than before, go back to sleep immediately. So I pretended. I slowed my breathing, kept my muscles loose, forced myself into the shape of someone dreaming. The footsteps were soft, measured, body. They moved slowly down the hallway, not toward the bathroom, not toward the front door, toward the living room, toward me. Each step made a faint impression in the carpet. I couldn't see it, but I could hear the fibers compress. There was a strange rhythm to it, like someone unfamiliar with walking was trying to imitate it. Heel, pause, toe, pause, heel, pause. The footsteps stopped right beside the couch. I could feel something standing over me, watching, waiting. The silence stretched until it became unbearable. Then a voice, very close to my face. You opened it. It wasn't accusing. It wasn't angry. It was curious. I didn't move, didn't respond. The voice inhaled sharply, as if smelling me. You weren't supposed to open it. My heart hammered against my ribs so hard I was certain it could see the movement under my skin. I wasn't fully, I whispered in my mind. I didn't open it fully, but something inside the bedroom had, and I had been awake when it happened, which meant I hadn't followed the rule completely. The presence shifted slightly. Then something cold brushed the side of my cheek. Not a hand, not skin. Something smoother, like the surface of the mirror. You looked, the voice said again. My stomach dropped. Rule number 7. If you see the man standing in the corner of your living room, do not look directly at him. He is not there. I had looked, maybe not intentionally, but I had tried to focus. And in the dream, I had looked directly at his face. The presence leaned closer. You're seeing me now. I forced my breathing to remain steady. No response. Silence. Then, softly open your eyes. Every instinct screamed not to. There was no rule about opening my eyes right now, but there was no rule permitting it either. The air grew colder. The weight of its presence pressed down harder. You can look, it whispered. I'm here. That's when I understood. The rule didn't say he isn't real. It said he is not there. Not there. Not in the corner. Not in a fixed place. He wasn't confined to the living room. The corner was just where he preferred to stand, where he was easiest to ignore. If you didn't look directly, the moment you acknowledged him, he stopped being not there. He became present, and present things can move. The pressure near my face shifted. I could feel something inches from my eyelids. Waiting, smiling. I made a decision. Instead of opening my eyes, I rolled off the couch, hard, onto the floor. The presence recoiled slightly, surprised. I scrambled blindly toward the bathroom. Keeping my eyes shut, I crashed into the doorframe and nearly fell. The air behind me shifted rapidly. The footsteps were no longer careful. They were fast, learning, adapting. I stumbled into the bathroom and slammed the door behind me, locked it, still not opening my eyes. My hands fumbled for the towel. The mirror had to stay covered. It was 3:19 a.m., still within the window. My fingers brushed the towel hanging over the glass. It was damp, cold. Something was moving behind it, pressing outward, trying to push through. The surface of the mirror bulged slightly beneath the fabric, as if something on the other side were testing its flexibility. You can't hide in reflections forever, the voice echoed from the hallway. Closer, approaching the bathroom door. I pressed both palms flat against the covered mirror. The surface was soft, like stretched rubber. Something pressed back from the other side, palm to palm. But the shape of the hand wasn't human. Too many fingers, too long. The bathroom light flickered once, twice, 3 times. I squeezed my eyes shut tighter even though they were already closed. Rule number 4: wait until it stabilizes. The door handle behind me rattled, not violently, just testing. The breathing filled the hallway again. "You already see me," it said softly. "You just won't admit it." The flickering continued longer this time. The pressure behind the towel increased. The mirror bulged further outward, like a membrane about to rupture. Then the flickering stopped. The hum stabilized. Silence. The pressure vanished instantly. The mirror hardened beneath my hands. The door handle stopped moving. The breathing ceased. Slowly, very slowly, I opened my eyes. The towel hung flat over the mirror. No bulge, no movement. The bathroom door was closed, still locked. The apartment was quiet, too quiet. I stepped back carefully, checked the time. 3:33 a.m. Exactly. The light shut off. Darkness swallowed the room. I didn't move for several seconds. Then from the living room corner I heard it, a soft shift of weight, like someone resuming their position, returning to where they belonged. I walked out of the bathroom slowly, every muscle tense. The living room was dim, lit only by faint streetlight through the window. And there he stood, in the corner, tall, still, facing the wall, exactly where he had been before, arms at his sides, motionless. He looked ordinary now, almost harmless, like a coat rack mistaken for a person in low light. I didn't look directly at him. I let my gaze slide past, ignored him completely. He is not there. He is not there. He is not there. I walked to the couch, sat down, stared at the opposite wall. After a long moment, the air shifted. The sense of presence lightened. The corner felt smaller again. Normal. I didn't check. I didn't need to, because I understood now. The rules weren't there to protect me from the apartment. They were there to protect the apartment from me, from my awareness, from my acknowledgement, from my gaze. The man in the corner exists in a state of uncertainty. As long as he is not directly observed, he remains contained, ambiguous, manageable. The moment you confirm him, he expands. He moves. He becomes. Morning came slowly. The apartment felt its normal size again. The closet door was closed. The mirror uncovered. The hallway short. I packed my essentials into a bag by noon. I was leaving. I didn't care about the lease. I didn't care about the deposit. As I opened the front door, I paused. There was another envelope taped to it. White, perfectly centered. My name written in black ink. My hand trembled as I opened it. Inside was a new list. Shorter this time. Just one rule. 8. You may leave, but he will need a corner wherever you go. I felt something shift behind me. Very slowly from the living room corner came the soft sound of breathing. Not in the apartment anymore, but closer, right behind my shoulder. And for the first time I made the mistake of turning to look directly at him. I shouldn't have looked. That was the last clean thought I had before everything shifted. Not visually, not dramatically. There was no jump scare, no scream, no lunging shadow. It was subtler than that, worse than that. The moment my eyes locked directly onto him fully, intentionally, without sliding away, something inside the air solidified. For the first time, he was clear, perfectly clear. He wasn't blurred anymore. He wasn't distorted. He wasn't peripheral. He stood inches behind me, tall enough that I had to tilt my head upward to see his face. And his face, it wasn't monstrous now. It wasn't stacked with eyes or stretched with teeth. It looked almost human. Almost. 2 eyes, 1 mouth, a nose, all arranged correctly, but slightly misplaced, as if someone had assembled a face from memory instead of reference. His eyes were too symmetrical, his mouth too centered, his skin too smooth, like a mannequin that learned to blink, and he was smiling, not maliciously, not happily, just knowingly. "You finally did," he said. His voice wasn't echoing anymore. It wasn't coming from the walls. It wasn't layered or distorted. It was right there, solid, present. I stepped back instinctively. He didn't follow, but he didn't need to, because the moment I looked at him, the apartment changed. The walls didn't stretch this time. They didn't shrink. They aligned, snapped into a sharper version of themselves. The corners became precise, defined, like the world had gained resolution, like I had adjusted focus on something that was never meant to be clear. And in that clarity I understood. Rule number 7 wasn't about safety, it was about containment. He exists in ambiguity. As long as you don't confirm him, he remains undefined. And undefined things cannot fully act. But I had defined him, given him shape, given him confirmation, given him existence. You'll get used to it, he said softly. I'm not staying here, I whispered. He tilted his head slightly. You already took me with you. My stomach dropped, because I realized he wasn't standing in the living room corner anymore. He wasn't attached to that spot. He wasn't even facing the wall. He was standing wherever I looked. And when I blinked, he wasn't behind me. He wasn't in the room at all. But I could feel him, attached, not physically, spatially, like a second axis extending from my perception. The envelope slipped from my hand. Rule number 8 lay on the floor. You may leave, but he will need a corner wherever you go. I stepped into the hallway. The building was silent as before. Doors shut, lights buzzing. Empty. I walked quickly, then faster, then almost running. The elevator at the end of the corridor stood open, waiting. I got inside and pressed the lobby button repeatedly. The doors slid shut. For the first time since moving in, I felt relief. But as the elevator descended, I noticed something. The corner of the elevator, back right, where the walls met. The metal seam between panels. It seemed darker, not shadowed, deeper. And slowly, without moving, I became aware that he was standing there, not visible, but positioned, occupying the concept of the corner. I stared straight ahead, didn't turn, didn't check. The elevator reached the lobby. The doors opened. I stepped out. The lobby was empty. Sunlight streamed through the glass entrance. Normal. Real. Safe. I walked outside. The cold February air hit my face like clarity. Cars passed. People moved on the sidewalk. Noise. Life. The world was intact. I exhaled deeply. And then I saw it. Every building has corners. Every room. Every alley. Every intersection. Even outside there are angles, edges, places where two lines meet. And in every single one, if I let my eyes drift too long, I could sense him. Not moving, not advancing, just present, waiting. I didn't go back to the apartment. I left the building key in the lobby mailbox, took a cab to a hotel across town, checked into a room on the 12th floor. Modern, bright, minimal, no weird hallways, no strange landlord, just a normal hotel room. I locked the door, checked the closet, checked the bathroom. Nothing unusual. I sat on the bed, heart still racing. You're fine, I muttered. This is normal. The room felt small, contained, finite, until I noticed the corner near the window, where the curtain met the wall. It was slightly darker than the others, not shadow, density. And even without looking directly, I felt him there, breathing softly, patient. I turned on every light, pulled the curtains open, stood in the middle of the room. Corners still existed. You can't remove corners. Even circular rooms have joints. Even tents have seams. I tried sleeping in the center of the bed, then on the floor, then in the bathroom. It didn't matter, because he doesn't need a specific corner. He needs a corner, any defined edge in your awareness, and awareness follows you. By the third night, I understood something else. He doesn't move toward you. He waits for you to create more corners, more enclosed spaces, more definitions. And the more afraid you become, the more you look, the more you confirm, the more real he gets. I tested something on the 4th night. I sat in the hotel room, and I deliberately looked at the corner, fully, intentionally. He was there, clear, standing upright, watching me. His expression calm, neutral, Are you going to do something? I asked. He blinked. No. Then what are you? His head tilted. I am what you define. The room felt colder. What happens if I stop looking at corners? You can't, he said simply. Perception has edges. I laughed shakily. You're just in my head. He smiled slightly. Then why do mirrors still need covering? My breath caught, because I had covered the hotel mirror before sleeping, without thinking, instinctively. And at 3:13 a.m. the bathroom light had flicked on, just once. He doesn't attack, he doesn't chase, he doesn't harm, he simply occupies. Grows clearer the more you acknowledge him, blurs when you deny him, contained by uncertainty, freed by confirmation. The apartment wasn't haunted, it was structured, a containment space, a carefully maintained ecosystem of rules. The previous tenants, they probably looked like I did, confirmed him, brought him with them. I don't know how long this lasts. I don't know if he can fade, or if I can learn not to define him. But I've noticed something new. When I stay in open spaces, fields, parking lots, wide highways, he's quieter, weaker. Corners matter less, but you can't live in infinite space. Eventually, you enter a room, and every room has four. Right now, I'm writing this from another apartment. Temporary, short-term lease. The landlord didn't give me any rules, but I wrote my own. 1. Avoid mirrors at 3:13 a.m. 2. Do not open closets fully. 3. Never acknowledge whispers. 4. Do not measure expanding space. 5. Do not look directly at corners. And especially, 6. Do not confirm what is not there. Because tonight when the lights flickered, I didn't close my eyes fast enough. And in the far left corner of this new living room, he's clearer than he's ever been. Not smiling anymore, not patient, just watching. As if waiting for me to understand one final thing, that maybe there was never a man in the corner. Maybe the corner was always inside me. And wherever I go, he won't need walls. He won't need shadows. He won't need the dark. He'll just need me. I made a mistake when I thought the rules were protection. They were scaffolding, temporary braces around something that was never meant to stay contained. I see that now. The rules only work if the structure remains intact. Apartment 4B wasn't cursed. It was calibrated. Every flicker at 3:13 a.m., every whisper after midnight, every measured expansion of space, every instruction not to look. It was all maintenance. A system designed to keep something undefined. But I left. And when I left, I removed the architecture. Now there are no building rules, no landlord, no controlled environment. Just me and him and the places where reality folds. It started 3 nights ago. I stopped sleeping in rooms. Instead, I began driving. Highways are long and straight. Minimal corners, minimal angles, just horizon. Endless stretch. For hours at a time, I felt almost free. He was quieter on the open road, thinner, less formed. But you can't drive forever. Eventually, you need gas, rest, a bathroom. I pulled into a 24-hour gas station at 3:06 a.m. The fluorescent canopy lights buzzed overhead. Too familiar, too sharp. The store inside had 4 perfectly squared corners. I felt him immediately. Stronger, denser, waiting. I didn't look. I kept my gaze forward, bought coffee, paid cash, avoided reflections in the glass refrigerator doors. When I walked back outside, the sky felt lower, compressed, like a ceiling. Even the open world has edges. The horizon is just a distant corner. That's when I realized something worse. Corners aren't architectural, they're conceptual. Anywhere 2 boundaries meet light and shadow, sound and silence, self and awareness, there's a seam, and he fits in 2 seams. The first time he moved without me looking was in the car. I was driving, eyes on the road, hands at 10 and 2. No buildings, no rooms, just night. Then I felt it, a shift in the passenger seat. Not weight, not movement, presence. I didn't turn, I didn't check, but I knew. He wasn't in a corner. He had found a new one. The angle between dashboard and windshield. The junction between thought and sight. "You're learning," he said softly. His voice no longer echoed. It vibrated inside my skull. "You don't need walls anymore." My throat tightened. "What do you want?" Silence. "Then I want to be certain." The car's headlights flickered once, twice, 3 times. I closed my eyes instinctively. The car drifted slightly before I corrected it. When I opened them, he wasn't in the seat, but the edges of the windshield looked sharper, defined, too defined, like reality had been traced in ink. The next evolution came at 3:13 a.m. I was parked in an empty lot, wide open, flat concrete, no structures nearby, no shadows except the car. I had convinced myself this was safe. No corners, no walls, no containment. The digital clock on the dashboard turned to 3:13 a.m. The interior light turned on. By itself. There was no bathroom mirror, no apartment, no hallway, so the rules shouldn't apply. Right? Wrong. The rearview mirror reflected the back seat, empty, until it wasn't. He didn't appear in the seat. He appeared in the reflection first, standing behind the car, tall, still, facing me, but when I glanced over my shoulder, nothing. The mirror image smiled slightly. "You're still separating things," he said. "Reflection and space. Inside and outside. Corner and open." The fluorescent canopy of the gas station miles behind me flickered in memory. I gripped the steering wheel harder. "You're just perception," I whispered. "Yes. And perception can be ignored." He leaned closer in the mirror, his face almost touching the glass from inside it. "Then ignore me." The challenge settled in my chest like ice. I looked away from the mirror, focused on the steering wheel, the dashboard, the empty lot. I refused to acknowledge any angle, any seam, any edge. I blurred my vision deliberately, softened everything, tried to dissolve structure. The world became unfocused, abstract. For a moment he weakened. I felt it, his presence thinning. "You can't live like that," he said quietly. He was right, because the moment I sharpened my vision again to drive, to function, to exist, edges returned. And so did he. Tonight is different. Tonight there are no buildings, no car, no mirrors, no closets, no rooms. I came to an open desert, miles of nothing, flat sand, wide sky, no corners, no walls, no architecture. I thought this would starve him, erase him, reduce him to a whisper. I was wrong, because as the sun set, the sky met the earth in a perfect line, a horizon, an edge, and in that line he stood, massive, spanning from ground to sky, no longer confined to human shape, no longer pretending, a vertical seam splitting existence. "You misunderstand me," his voice rolled across the desert. "I was never in corners." The wind howled around me. "Then what are you?" I thought. "I am the boundary." The air grew heavy. The stars began to appear. Pinpricks in darkness, each one a point, each point forming angles between them, constellations, patterns, structure. "You define the world by edges," he continued. "Light against dark, object against space, self against other." The horizon sharpened. The line became clearer, thicker, more solid. "I exist wherever you divide." My breath caught, because I understood. He wasn't attached to rooms. He wasn't bound to walls. He wasn't hiding in corners. He was born the moment I recognized difference, the moment I drew a line, the moment I said, "This is here, that is there. He is not there." The desert felt smaller suddenly. Even infinite space has definition when you perceive it. The sky above, the sand below, 2 planes meeting, a seam, and he filled it completely now. Vast, unavoidable. "You can't remove me," he said gently, "without removing yourself." The realization broke something inside me. If I stop defining, if I dissolve perception, if I blur everything, there are no edges, no corners, no boundaries, no him, but also no me. My breathing slowed. The desert darkened. I softened my gaze again. Let the horizon blur. Let sky and sand melt into each other. The stars smeared into indistinct light. The seam weakened. His massive form trembled. "You will lose yourself," he warned. His voice sounded farther away. "Maybe," I whispered. The world continued to dissolve. Edges faded, contrast collapsed. Up and down became meaningless. Self and space thinned. His outline fractured. "You cannot exist without division," he said, fading. "Neither can you." He was right, but I had one final choice. Keep the edges, keep the world, keep him, or let everything merge. No corners, no boundaries, no separation, no certainty. As the last clear line of the horizon dissolved, so did he. But so did the desert, the sky, the sense of my body, the concept of distance. There was no corner anymore, no seam, no difference, no rule, just something vast and undivided. And somewhere within that undivided space, a final thought flickered. If no boundaries exist, nothing can stand in the corner, because there is no corner. But there is also no one left to see it.